President Trump saying just now something amazing is unfolding before our eyes amid Operation Epic Fury entering its 5th day now. Joining us to discuss is Grant Newsham, retired U.S. Marine Colonel and former U.S. diplomat, senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy, and Bryan Leib, a foreign policy analyst and former executive director at Iranian Americans for Liberty. So first of all, welcome both. Thank you for joining us. So, Bryan, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth saying today that the leader of an Iranian unit who allegedly made an assassination attempt on President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Is the issue of Iran attempting to assassinate the president more evidence, in your view, of it being an imminent threat against the U.S.?
First of all, Don, it's good to be with you and with the audience here at NTD again. There were enormous amounts of imminent threats, not just towards the president of the United States, but to the American people. This Islamic Republic of Iran and the regime that's been running this country for years has continued to enrich uraniums to levels that only you would do if you're interested in making nuclear bombs. Now we know that Special Envoy Witkoff said that during the latest round of diplomatic talks that the Iranians started off at the negotiating table telling him and Jared Kushner that they had enough uranium for 12 nuclear bombs. So this has been the goal of this regime, I think, from day one for the last 40 plus years. So there's been an enormous amount of imminent threats to the homeland here in America and to Americans all over the world.
So Grant, do you agree with what Bryan said, him listing a number of the imminent threats against the U.S.? Is there anything for you to add to that list?
Sure. It goes back 47 years to the early 80s in Lebanon when 241 Marines were killed. The U.S. Embassy was blown up. CIA Station Chief Bill Buckley was tortured to death, and the Iranians sent videos of it so the Americans could watch it. And then you just go down the list. It has been Iranian proxies and Iranian agents killing Americans for that entire time. The aid they gave to the insurgents in Iraq, that killed and maimed hundreds of Americans, probably more than that. It's just nonstop. They have been at war with us for that long. And when it comes to their capabilities, just play this out a little bit. And once they get their delivery systems down, as they're very close to doing, get their nuclear weapons in place, and that has been their aim. And we don't quite know how close they are to it, but probably pretty close. At that point, they start to have the ability to hit the United States, hit our territory. And everything becomes completely different. But we tend to think, well, if they don't have it today, well, there's no imminent threat. Well, just, use some common sense and look out, as I said, a few years, and you'll see that this is a very, I would note is for the Iranians to have put all of their top leaders into one room, knowing that the Israelis and the Americans have very good intelligence, suggests that they might have been up to something that was not at all very good, and it was big. So there's empirical evidence, and then just the aspect of just common sense, and suggest that Iran is an imminent, immediate threat to the United States.
All right, so Bryan, the U.S. sank an Iranian ship by torpedo, and this is the first since World War II. We also saw the first American kamikaze drone strikes in this conflict. So, Bryan, is the U.S. sending a message here to adversaries about the scope and capabilities of the U.S. military?
First of all, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that we were able to take out one of their ships using a torpedo for the first time in a long time. But yeah, the capabilities of the U.S. military are totally unmatched. I think we probably have a lot of other things up our sleeves in terms of dialing things up, over the next couple days and maybe a week or so. But listen, everyone knows that the United States military has an enormous amount of capabilities and wherewithal, and I think it's only going to continue growing here over the next couple days.
Okay, Grant, is there a message here that the U.S. is sending, and our adversaries receiving that message?
Oh, I think the message is pretty clear just from our activities. And considering that the Iranian air defenses, for example, were of Chinese and Russian origins, and it appears that the Americans and the Israelis have pretty much neutralized them. The Russians and the Chinese aren't looking like they produce the best stuff, but anyone who relies on Russian, Chinese hardware must be wondering if it's really all that good. So there is a message being sent. Also, there's a lot of will that's being demonstrated by the Trump administration to actually go to war against Iran like this, that nobody has ever done. No president's ever done it. That is something that the Chinese do look at, and it's the will of their intended victims. And we've shown a lot of it in the last few months. And that is something that gets noticed as well, besides the sheer professionalism of the U.S. forces. To be able to operate over Iran without losing aircraft like this, that's something I think a lot of people didn't expect, but it's quite something to see.
So, Bryan, let me get your comments on this. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, saying today that she understood that Spain would now cooperate with the U.S. military. And then later, Spain's foreign minister refuted her statement. Can you just give us your comments on this? Where is this going?
Where this is going is the current makeup of the Spanish government is low-key pro-Islamic Republic of Iran and very anti-Trump and anti-America. There's a couple other governments that are similar like this throughout Europe, but this is what Spain is doing. We saw at the very outset, or I should say beginning of these attacks, with the British saying that they weren't going to let us utilize their air bases where we had planes stationed. So everyone's trying to, flex a little bit here. And we should be taking notice of that. The countries that are not standing with the United States and with Israel right now are drawing a very clear line in the sand that instead of standing with the good guys, they're standing with the bad guys. They're standing with the evil regime in Tehran. And we should all just be paying notice of that. But I mean, how does that affect the U.S. and Israel's operational capacity? I don't think it's going to affect us quite a bit. We've seen the overwhelming success here over the last couple days. So Spain flexing their muscles on us a little bit here is nothing more than probably some diplomacy, and the Spanish trying to score some points back at home, with their electorate. It's not going to affect what we're doing in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, understood. Now, Grant, if I could get you to address some concerns here. Some say more should have been done to warn American citizens to avoid travel to and in Iran. So with that being said, I should also mention that there were, in fact, travel advisories in place to tell people not to travel there. So just in your view, how realistic or feasible is it that more warnings could have been done without alerting the Iranian regime or of the plans to attack?
Oh, I think the U.S. government gave all the warnings necessary. I think one would have to be really pretty dense not to realize that it was a pretty dangerous place to go to. I think these criticisms are unfounded, and the State Department did their job to make it clear that you really don't want to go to this place. I think someone who did would, I'm not sure they would be at the highest end of the sort of the IQ spectrum.
All right, Bryan.
No, I mean, listen. He makes such a good point. I mean, what American was traveling to Iran? I mean, there were no Americans that were traveling to Iran, and I thought it was interesting when we put out the notice, telling all Americans to get out of Iran. There were no Americans in Iran in the first place, so I thought it was pretty interesting, and I think that the Trump administration has actually done a pretty amazing job with messaging. You see the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and the Joint Chiefs Chairman that have been out in front of this in the morning, educating the American people, telling us what they've been doing. So I think they've been pitch perfect on all of this, to be honest.
And even for those who are in the Middle East, the administration right now are making every effort to try to get them out, right? Secretary of State Marco Rubio giving out the number that they should contact, the website they should go to. So efforts are being done for even those who are currently within the region. But Bryan, I also wanted to get your comments on the level of support that you're seeing. What are the polling numbers telling us? What do you see in terms of support about Republicans for Trump's actions on Iran?
I think the polling numbers are really kind of inconsequential at this point in time, if I'm being honest with you. We're in the middle of an active combat operation trying to take out the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism and all of their tentacles. And I think the American people are going to be very proud of President Trump, are going to be very happy with what he's done. Certainly, it's been horrible that we've lost any of our American service members so far. God willing, we don't have any more losses like that. Likely, we probably will, unfortunately. But I think the American people understand what peace through strength means. They understand that sometimes you've got to take the fight to the doorstep of your adversaries. And I think President Trump has been very clear about this, Don. We're not going to be putting boots on the ground. At the end of the day, that's going to be up to the Iranian people to effect the ultimate regime change. What we and our Israeli partner and ally are doing right now is laying that groundwork with what we're doing in the air and at sea right now. So I think when the dust settles with this, the American people are going to be very proud of our president, very, very proud of our military for doing what was right and for standing on the right side of history.
So, Grant, according to a CBS News poll, 76% of Americans support U.S. military action against Iran if the conflict only lasts a few days or weeks. Now, Bryan is saying that poll numbers are not the end-all, be-all. But, Colonel, to you, what are the actual factors for whether or not the American people support U.S. military action or not?
Well, it's going to come down to things like casualties, how long it takes, and how much success it looks like it's happening. And that's a little hard to calculate. But that's just the nature of armed conflict. And the fact this has only been going on 4 days and people are already fretting to make you wonder how sort of our parents' and grandparents' generations actually sort of withstood the casualties and the tragedy of World War II. So 4 days, this is just getting started. But it does depend on, if it looks like it's going to be successful, what the cost is. That's the case with every war.
Now, Bryan,
one would think that a little patience is in order here.
Okay, now, Bryan, I want you to respond to some concerns now. There's a clip that I brought with me from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talking about the president's priorities.
SAVE Act is absolutely still a priority for this president and the administration. The focus, of course, of much of the president's time right now is on ensuring the success of Operation Epic Fury, but the president can walk and chew gum at the same time, and he's very much continuing to focus on the issues that matter here at home for the American people, including the passage of the SAVE Act, including on bringing down the cost of living, which is why you'll see the...
So, Bryan, a criticism that the Trump administration is trying to confront here is that should it focus on America first and issues at home as a priority first rather than the conflict? The press secretary here is just saying that the president can walk and chew gum at the same time. What is your response to this argument? Does doing one mean you can't do the other?
I was smiling when I heard her say that, because in my head I was going to say to you on the other side, we're the United States of America. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So it's exactly correct. I mean, we have the capabilities to win this combat operation overseas, while also making sure that we're advancing the agenda here domestically, and also keeping the American people safe. The FBI, DHS, other apparatuses here in the United States are laser focused on the possibility of any kind of sleeper cells or any kind of additional terrorist attacks on U.S. soil. So I think that we're laser focused on protecting the American people here on the homeland and also abroad. And just to say it again, we are the United States of America. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
So, Grant, your comments on this. Does the operation on Iran mean the U.S. is not focusing on issues at home?
Oh, it shouldn't. And if there's ever been a president who was able to do about 12 things at once, it's President Trump. And it is amazing just how he manages this. But there's no reason why it should be impossible to do domestic matters and overseas matters, foreign affairs. There's simply no reason at all. We have the resources, we have the people, we have the money. You often hear, well, we don't have bandwidth. Well, maybe some other countries, but not the United States. Say we have the resources, it just takes the will. And if there was ever a president who it's hard to keep up with, it's President Trump.
And I think the press conference just now, the roundtable before this interview speaks for itself, right? President Trump is making sure that consumers' electricity prices does not increase while the operation is going on. So let's leave it there for today. Thank you both for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak with both of you.